been a really low day for me. Yeah, I got a really got a disruptive sleep last night. I didn't. I could sense I didn't really get any sort of deep rest. And so when my alarm went off, probably for the first time in a long time, I just couldn't get myself, or I chose just to stay in bed and try to sleep more, because I think it was usually I'd wake up and just kind of try to just soldier through the day, but I think my lack of sleep has been building up, and then last night was, I could just sense that I was just really exhausted, but I ended up just sort of trying to sleep in bed for about an hour or so, and then got up, but after that I really tried to push myself. I made a plan to go to the library in a town in the city centre, which is quite a big library, and it's probably like at least a 45-minute walk, maybe a bit more, and lots of hills involved as well, which makes it tiring with like a heavy backpack. So I kind of really pushed myself to go there. I used the incentive of just getting some exercise, and also getting a library book out as well. I kind of just thought there might be a bigger selection there for me. The book I'm reading at the moment, I've just sort of lost interest, so I thought maybe I could swap it out for something else. So yeah, kind of after my late start, I sort of pushed myself to get into gear, to try to make a day of it, and I made a sandwich to take with me, and I've been fasting recently for the first up until sort of lunchtime, so I didn't have any breakfast and stuff, and I guess I was feeling that a little bit as well, because it was quite an exhausting walk. So I got to the library, and originally I sat in this kind of really quiet space, and it was almost too quiet, because it's almost, there's other people, it's kind of lines of desks, and there's like little sound dividers as well, but I felt really self-conscious. If I made any sort of noise, it will kind of echo and everyone will hear it, and it's a bit too quiet. But I kind of just stayed there and thought, okay, let's just deal with the uncomfortableness, and I managed to do, I'm working on this novel, and I'm trying to take the seriousness out of writing it, so I'm not sort of putting pressure on myself that it's got to be a good novel, or something that's worthy to send to an agent, but more just something to kind of keep me occupied, to keep me mentally stimulated, to keep me focused on something. So yeah, that took a long time. It took a lot of energy to do that. Usually especially as of late when I'm writing, it's like I'm sat in front of the computer screen. It takes a while to settle in and to kind of to get myself going, and that's becoming more difficult. So yeah, for about an hour I wrote this scene and I kind of broke for lunch just before midday, and I had my sandwich outside. So there were benches outside the library, and it's quite convenient just to. It was funny because close by the library there's a college, so one bench down there was a group of boys, quite young, and they were just talking about Netflix and all these amazing movies, and it was weird just listening to them. Just I guess just the things they were saying, and at that, just trying to remember, what it was like at that age. But they're kind of talking about Quentin Tarantino and some of his movies and how great they are, and other things like that. But and recently I kind of just do one session of writing. Like I do an hour or two at the most, and then I kind of don't write for the rest of the day. But I went back inside the library after lunch, and I worked on a synopsis for is a novel I wrote in 2005. It's my first novel, and I was actually in the college down the road from the library I was this morning. That's where I went to college as well, so I'm quite familiar with that. And that's where I started kind of sort of writing in a serious way back in those days. So I was just working on a synopsis, which is part of like the sort of submission documents you give to an agent. So I thought I would do a little bit of that as well. And when I went back inside, I found a bunch of desks downstairs. It's like a little mini cafe there, and it was so much more comfortable, like sitting there and writing or doing some work. But I quickly sort of got exhausted, and another thing I've struggled with is if I think I've done enough, the balance between sort of pushing myself with effort and overdoing it, and I was kind of hovering on that line, and sometimes it's hard to sort of pack up my things and call it a day, because it always feels like I've never, not done enough. I've not pushed myself enough. And so, I kind of thought, okay, let's just find a book another sort of fiction book to read and to loan out from the library, and then I can start the sort of long walk home. I was just there for like such a long time, just looking through book after book and reading the blurb on the back, and I think there's a mix of me feeling really low and feeling really exhausted. It's just nothing was interesting, and I just didn't have any sense to want to read, which didn't feel okay, because I feel like with writing you kind of this kind of habit or idea that you need to be a good reader as well, because it's part of being a good writer to be well read. And I've always struggled with reading a lot of the time, and especially in the last few years, reading's been extremely patchy for me and difficult, and I just felt really I was already feeling low, and it just felt a bit deflated. I just couldn't find a book or couldn't connect with reading. I kind of decided to leave there without a book, just acknowledging that I am not feeling good, not feeling well in that moment. So I shouldn't try and strain myself to try and be interested in something or find it. I thought, okay, let's just leave it for another day. And the walk home was really exhausting, and it's strange as well, because I'm doing these sort of 6 steps, as I mentioned previously, and it didn't seem to help today. Even with the long walk, like uphill and stuff, I thought that would sort of give me some energy and mental energy and lift my mood, but it just continued to spiral really. Maybe that's not only okay, but maybe that's not a failure of the book, or me carrying out the steps in the right way. But it's really difficult just feeling so low, because I was doing everything I can, the last part of my strength, not to almost sort of fall into the feeling where you almost, you've kind of given up and you're free falling now, and that means that you're so much more vulnerable to sort of habits and actions that you want to kind of stay away from. So for me, a lot of time it's binge eating, or just eating, junk food and things like that. And and part of me just wanted to maybe do something to numb the pain, which is sometimes what eating does, or distract, or have a different emotion, a different feeling than what I was having. So when I got back, I've just kind of just been watching some Netflix, and I'm just taking a little break before I go back to that. But I'm just doing my best to ride out these feelings, really. And it's strange because it feels like I'm not ruminating on stuff, but still the heavy feelings are there. So it feels like I'm at least minimizing these sort of depressive symptoms as best as I can. I think I was reading stuff like the tools of CBT and things like that. Often it's to stop rumination and to interrupt thoughts and things like that, which obviously carry a huge energy, and it can keep you in that mood for longer. But for me, my kind of tool is like mindfulness, to be present. So I've tried just to do my best to do that today. It's really difficult to do, because it's like you're almost kind of turning to face the pain, not in a combative way, but just in an open way, where you're trying to be with it, to allow it to be there. It takes a certain amount of strength to do that. And I didn't have much of an appetite, or I was going to make a stir fry tonight, because I've got some tofu that needs using, but I just really didn't have the appetite for that. So I did have some dinner, but it wasn't I guess it wasn't like extremely healthy, but it wasn't also, it could have been a lot worse in terms of healthiness. So I'm trying not to be hard on myself for that. I had a healthy lunch, and I did a fast this morning as well. So just feeling quite despondent, really. Just feeling, especially in the face of it's taken such an effort in these last couple of weeks to do these steps, to incorporate things, and I'm aware it's, I can't just suddenly turn it on and maximize my sort of habits and behaviors and things, and but I do feel burned out, and I think I've generally done well to like pace myself. I've not, like each of these steps, some of them are like easy or natural, like sleep, it's a natural one we do, and so I've tried to do like sleep hygiene for that. Sunlight, I've tried to get out first thing in the morning, which I've done almost every day for the past 3 weeks or more. Besides, today I did get out in the morning, but not as early as I wanted to. The other step is omega-3s, which I've, to be completely honest, sometimes I forget to take it after a meal. So I've done it like 50% of the time, meaning that I've taken them every day, but not twice a day, which is, I think, what I need to be doing. And then social connection, I've really made an effort to try and be in touch with people, and so I've been seeing some, like my family members a lot. I've been seeing a friend who I go to the library to write with, and so I've been trying to have some sort of consistency with people I see, and but it's a struggle as well. Like, I think I went out with a family member for coffee, and it was just I just really struggled. I think just feeling a bit drained, just with the social interactions. I think sometimes just feel, and I've always struggled with things like I don't often have a huge amount to say, or it's usually one end or the other. Like, if I say something, then I probably say a lot, but if I don't say much, and I usually say very little, there's not much for me to say about myself or talk, really. I struggle with that. But yeah, I think it's tough, because feeling like this, it gives you less motivation to continue, and I know I can't. It's best not to sort of stop this. I need to sort of continue it, and hopefully it will, whatever benefit I can get from it will I'm sure I'm getting some benefit from it, even though the way I'm feeling at the moment may just be my mood has just dropped for whatever reason. Partly it's because of my lack of sleep. That's definitely a part of it, but I don't think it's all of it, because I can't imagine sleep having this amount of, if I can talk properly, to have this sort of effect so quickly, where my mood just really dropped quite quickly today. So that was just, I don't know if it's worrying, but yeah, just maybe I'll see how tomorrow goes. I'm going to try and aim to get out for the morning light, and when it comes to like writing, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. If I need to take a break and do something else, or I'm not sure what to do about that. That's one of the other steps, the engaging activity step, and I feel like I don't really have much interest in anything at the moment, and writing is probably the closest to an interest I have. Try and keep engaged in something. So maybe I can try and potentially do that tomorrow. Maybe I can give reading a rest, especially reading fiction. I can maybe continue just reading the Depression Cure book, the 6-step book, and maybe just let sort of fiction reading go for the moment, because I think part of me is my concentration and my interest. I don't think there's a book, or at least the books I looked through, that just held my interest, and I think that's a lot of that's just to do with my mood. So maybe it's best I don't try and force that. So I'm going to just maybe watch some more Netflix, I think. And I think the next thing is just try and get to bed on time tonight. I got my order of the 5-HTP yesterday, so I'm taking that. I'm not sure, because on the back of on the label it says, like, I'm not sure I understand the instructions fully, because it says take 1 tablet twice daily, like I think that's daytime, but it says or take at bedtime, and I'm not sure if that means you can take both doses at bedtime all at once, or I'm not sure if I'm just getting myself confused with that. But I'm just taking one anyway, just to kind of ease into it. Maybe I can somehow find out if I can take 2 with this whatever milligram measurement there is in these capsules. maybe that will kick in as well and give me a bit of a boost, perhaps. Yeah, I do think that would have affected my mood today, the HTTP, but maybe it's something to keep an eye on. Usually we look for anomalies, don't we? When mood drops, you think, okay, what's out of the ordinary that would have affected that? And so, yeah, there was so much more I wanted to say and share about the last few weeks, but that's all that's coming to me, I think, at the moment. And perhaps, maybe it's not worth going over some previous stuff as well. Kind of mentioned it briefly anyway in the last episode, last vlog I recorded. I've got a feeling it might be a struggle to get myself to bed on time, because usually when I feel low, it's just, I think maybe evenings I find really difficult as well. It's just hard to get myself to bed. It's the last thing sometimes I want to do when I'm feeling low. Maybe it's good to be aware of that, so I don't fall into a pattern of like going on like a YouTube binge, which is what usually happens, and then a late night, and that kind of carries over to the next day. But so I'm just going to try and hang in there, keep trying to work these sort of lifestyle steps as best as I can. Maybe I'll try and check in tomorrow. It might be good for me to check in tomorrow and pick up these vlogs again. And here's to hopefully having a better sleep.